Yay Networks.
Welcome to Greg Louganis is Alive, the podcast that challenges what you think you know. I'm your host, Greg Louganis, and yes, I'm still alive. I'm joined with my good friend and manager, Beth Zinman. Hey, Beth.
Hello, hello. Greg is still alive.
Yeah, still alive so far.
Yeah. So, what's going on today?
Well, I'm going to be talking with Dana Linnet, and she is president and CEO of the Summit Group DC and a national security expert for over 25 years in government and the private sector. So, when we talked about my experience with Estonia, that they were so mindful about practices, carbon footprint, and plastics.
Incredibly so, yeah.
It was really like night and day, going to Fukuoka, which is the World Aquatic Championships. And you'd think, oh, this is the, World Aquatic Championships. They would be kind of leading the charge in responsibility.
Being a global citizen, right? Right?
Right. Yeah.
Like you would
right?
think of all organizations, yeah.
So it was really kind of startling to me to see all of the plastics and also like some of the excuses of not being, so mindful, and so, that's what I want to talk to Dana about.
I was excited, actually. I'm just going to say when we were there and you were asked your opinion and you freely gave it, I was actually really excited, for you, but also like for the rest of us, because I felt like you had some excellent observations and information to share. So,
but I also felt like I was kind of shut down.
You were, and that was like kind of the next thing I was going to say is and it obviously wasn't a personal thing because your opinion was solicited. But I think because oftentimes people tend to go into like, why can't I do this?
Right.
I love that you keep, exploring this and sharing this information.
And also, how can we do better?
Right.
So that's the reason why I'm really looking forward to my conversation with Dana, because that's a big part of her business.
Yeah, I'm excited. I will be listening very, very closely.
Yeah. So we'll be back with Dana right after this break. So Dana, thank you so much for joining me. And I am so interested in learning more about what you do. You're a former career diplomat with the U.S. Department of State. And you've worked all over the world, right?
Yes.
And currently you're a CEO of the Summit Group DC. And what does the Summit Group DC? What is that? What is your mission statement? What's your purpose, your goal?
Yeah, thank you. I know it might not be evident in the name, but we are an independent government affairs consulting firm specifically designed to help U.S. industry and the U.S. government work together as national security partners. And then this also extends to our international allies and partners as well, so that together we can continue to live in free societies where democracy, freedom, and humankind can flourish. Our focus is on aerospace and defense, but we're very engaged in advanced technologies like AI, which is very up in the news right now, net zero and sustainable technologies, which are critical to our human survival, and quantum computing, which is an even newer and less understood technology, but nonetheless will be supremely important in ways that your viewers and listeners may not really understand yet. And oftentimes we're working in the space where defense, aerospace, and these technologies all intersect, because we are living in a world where these threats and disruptions against everyday peaceful people are getting so complex. People are feeling powerless. So I started this company to help people recognize that we're not powerless. Individuals have power, but I, as a business owner, have the power to help enable, us coming together from the industry and government side to work together. Like, government can't do everything, industry can't do everything, and, movements and people can't do everything. So we really have to work together. And so I purpose built this company to tackle that.
Well, it's interesting because I had this thought this morning in talking about this. You talk about being you also talk about being a global citizen.
Yes.
Being a conscientious global citizen, and then what hit me was, gosh, when I was 16 years old, I was on my first Olympic team, and then somebody said, "You're a role model." It's like, oh. How did that happen? But we just are because we are. I mean, just, whether we like it or not, we are all global citizens. Whether we like it, whether I liked it or not, I was a role model. So, we take those things on. I think that, the most important thing is, how do we embrace that? How do we be the best that we can be?
Absolutely. And I think because we get so loaded down in what's coming at us from the media, and we're being forced into this very reactive position, it's like we're constantly being pinned down in reactive mode instead of slowing down. We started this with breathing exercises, which I absolutely love, because I love starting my day with meditation, because I want to be in control of my day and drive where my day is going with intention. And I want to help other people do that as well, like you do. But I think we're so pinned down as everyday Americans, just trying to put food on the table, get our kids to school, be there for our partners or our pets or our families, our neighbors. Like, we just, it's just hard to get out of reactive mode and to feel like you can do something. But everyone is a global citizen. I mean, you more so, people in the public eye. And with social media, we see the relentlessness of that. But even the everyday American or everyday citizen, we all have a responsibility. This is our planet. We're in this too. We have a voice too. And we have to really find these ways to really maximize our voices, or we're just giving it over, like, from this passive and reactive state. And that's the worst thing that can happen. So I really, like you, I try to be a role model to the people who are in diplomacy or want to get into international affairs. And just get out in their own communities, even stop being like aspiring to just be in the high rooms, but like go out to your neighbors and talk to your neighbors and be that role model.
One thing that happened over this summer, I did this event in Estonia. It was Vishen Lakhiani. It was Mind Valley University, and it was very, very conscious. The vendors there, the food vendors, you spend an extra euro for the container. And then if you get it in the right bin, then that credits you your euro back, so that everything is very mindful about leaving that carbon footprint. Also spigots where you can fill your water bottles to try and reduce plastics. But then, like a week later, I go to the World Aquatic Championships in Fukuoka, Japan, and there's one-time use bento boxes for the workers. There's all these little plastic bottles, and I was talking to the president and his partner about all of the plastic that I observed.
It's hellacious, yeah.
And this is a world event, and they're supposed to be kind of like the ones who are setting an example. I mean, that's what you would think, right?
To your point about you were being a role model, and that you're putting the athletes in the position of being role models, and then they're standing with plastic bottles behind them, right?
Right.
Doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And so, my question, to the president and his staff was like, how, isn't there something we can do about that? And then that attorney speak is like, oh, well, what if, somebody, spikes somebody's drink and we have to secure it and all, and all of these. But it's like the bigger problem is the plastic, but then, how do we make that safe for the athletes, and it's almost like, this is the problems that we should be trying to solve, because it does seem to be something that we can manage ourselves, locally resource and being able to, wherever we have a world event, to have the support of communities.
Absolutely. And I think, well, first of all, I will say I'm a Mind Valley member. So Vision should pay us both.
Right. Yeah.
I was actually in Estonia the week before it started on a business trip. I used to live there as a diplomat. So I speak Estonian. I know a lot of people there, and I was desperate to go to Mind Valley U. And I'm so sorry. My schedule was all upside down. And I'm even more sorry that I didn't know you were going, because I would have loved to have heard your intervention. But yeah, so getting back to that, I'm trying not to fangirl over you too much right now, Greg. It's really, really bad. I grew up, we had the 84 Olympics in Los Angeles, and it was rumored that you had trained on the diving board at my club. But not at the time I was there, because we had the 3 meter or the high board.
Was that Los Coyotes Country Club?
It was Los Cab.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So anyway,
how funny.
We were, So that's so it was very, very cool. I was really, really into your sport. But anyway, the Europeans, to your point, they make a deliberate legislative commitment. So it's in their law, and their people back it through the European Union. Estonia is a member of the European Union, but each country can go even farther, right? And event holders like Mind Valley, they can go even farther than that. It's all about the commitment, right? But there's like a basic legislative commitment to these environmental standards, to food standards, to water safety standards, completely lacking in the US. And from what I understand from your trip to Fukuoka, it looks like it's lacking in Japan as well. So all of what you're saying is like, how can we do this? It's all about commitment and getting it written down into procedure and into practice. Because if you don't have that commitment, that procedure, and that practice, that incentivization, then people will continue to be, well, we're free to do what we want, and those who want to care about the environment can care about it, and those who don't can continue on with that. Well, that's kind of unacceptable now, and I think we would all do well to look at how the Europeans have tackled this. Like if I go and buy a glass bottle, or a bottle of beer or a plastic bottle from a supermarket in Denmark, they charge me an extra, they don't do euro, they do the kroons. They charge you 5 kroons, but they create dispensers where you just go in and you get your money back. But you're constantly bringing your own bags and bringing things in and bringing things back. There's a deliberate commitment in law and social practice to do that. And I think that's what we need to do. I would really love to see people, just contact their airports, their sporting associations. If it's the Olympic Committee, I mean, the athletes, you guys are the ones with your reputations on the line. I would love to see the athletes get together and say, we have a commitment to ban plastic bottles. Can you put refilling stations that have, either ozonated water or whatever, they 20 times filtered with the the electrolytes and stuff in the water, whatever, the whatever infused. And that becomes the Olympic standard. And that way, because the water athletes are getting out of the plastic anyway is crappy and fake water. It's not really spring water from any clean source. It's just recycled water. But I think if you get the fancy water at these filling stations, at least the athletes are getting electrolytes and good hydration, and they're not creating all this horrible waste. So that's an idea I would suggest.
Yeah. I mean, it is, and that's what I was thinking. It was like, starting with, it used to be FINA, was the International Aquatics Federation, was FINA, but now it's World Aquatics now. And so go to, that organization and get things kind of in alignment. Because I know the athletes would oftentimes we're at the mercy of whoever is doing the events. And so we're, we don't really have a say so.
Right. So the contractors that are responsible for organizing these massive, massive events, right? The contracts have to be written that they have to supply these kinds of amenities. And if they don't have them in there, they can't compete and win those contracts. And sure, they can put the correct price in for what that would cost. But really, the diesel fuel to truck in pallets of water, I can't imagine. I've seen the side of like the swim lanes and stuff where there's just bottles laying everywhere and the athletes are like kind of sidestepping the bottles. It's ridiculous. At this point, they want their own every athlete gets their own bottle, just like you get your own little, name tag when you show up at the Olympic Village or the competition. Here's your badge, here's your refillable bottle. It's this big. If you need another one, have your manager ask us, Right. It's not that hard. Write it into the contract.
Right. And, and it really is, starting at the top of these organizations, because there are events that happen all over the world all the time, whether it's a sporting event, entertainment event, to get, all of these organizations, to be more mindful, to have, the practices to be global citizens.
Right.
It goes right back to allow us to be the global citizens that we want to be.
Right. But you've seen how athletes have taken such a positive role. And just like my idol, Billie Jean King, I was a tennis player. I wasn't a diver, but she has done so much for equal pay and women's equality in tennis for generations. I mean, for several generations of professional players and for the whole sport. But and you see like Megan Rapinoe on the women's soccer side. There are a lot of role models, and even like the men soccer players in FIFA who were really rallying behind Ukraine. And, there is some allowed activism, which is sort of shared by the majority of people. That's not sort of dangerous to your career, if you will, this should be one of them, right? Like this should be one of those things where the athletes themselves can get together and say, this is what we want to see. We want to see some more sustainability. This is what we think it should look like. Some of these athletes are well, they're well compensated in their day jobs when they're, in their athletic jobs when they're not in the Olympics. So I think athletes have such a positive voice. And this Gen Z that's coming up behind us, they're all in on this. There's only like 2% that might not be. Whereas like our generation is still kind of, we're mostly in, and maybe the boomers ahead are
right.
But like,
it's like, okay, what's it going to cost? What's it going to cost us?
Exactly. But this generation, they're pushing on an open door. So these athletes should really be unafraid.
Yeah. And I think it is. I mean, I think the athletes is just getting those people, at the top levels, to get them, it's like, look, you can do this and this is how, and also, for them to set an example, and that was the thing that really kind of struck me at the World Championships in Fukuoka, was that, oh my God, this is a World Championships. This is like the elite of the elite.
Right.
And it's just like, well, we want to present ourselves, in the most positive light possible. And with what I was seeing, we can do better.
Yes.
And when you have, you have that, oh, we can do better, then it gives you some place to go. It gives you some place to go and feel good about it. Feel good about, the direction you're going. Cause I was for a period of time, I was sports director for the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. And I stepped away because I just didn't feel it was congruent with what I stand for. So, but the kids
Red Bull, the most sustainable drink on the planet.
Right. Yeah. So, but the kids, the athletes, they got clean the cliffs. They were pushing a clean the cliffs. So several days prior to the competition, we'd all show up and we'd, get together with local schools, that would come out and help, and we'd pick up the trash, along the cliffs. The question that after, my experience this summer, I was thinking, well, I never paid attention to how we left it.
Right.
And that's one of the things that I read in that you put in your bio to make everywhere better.
Yeah.
Better because you were there, and that's the quote from my mom that I always was raised with is make everywhere you go better because you were there.
Right, and that's, I think, something in a professional sense, regardless if you're like in diplomacy like me, or you're, you're driving a truck across the country, or your job is to do what you do, in the athletic world and in the, in the enlightenment world. But I think everyone should leave things better than where you were. I mean, you shouldn't leave your trash everywhere, but also in your professional life, if you see something that should be fixed, fix it.
Right.
I had the real privilege of working with Colin Powell as one of the Secretary of States that I worked with, who was just one of the most inspirational leaders. He meant a lot to me personally in my career, throughout my career. But he always said, cynicism has no place here, so, and there's always something that you can do to lead or to improve things, that no matter where you are, whether you're at entry level, you've just begun, or you're at the very top ranks, like there's room for everyone to make a difference. And so from my very first, even before Colin Powell was my secretary though, from my very first, job to in diplomacy, or even before that, I would be like, what can we improve here? Like, just because it's always been done this way is not the reason to keep doing it. And if people are, if you can make it better, we have an obligation to, because I feel like we're endowed with all of this great creativity and talent that we just don't even tap in ourselves on the daily. But, what a squandering of what we're given if we don't take the effort to give it. Like if we see it and still don't take the effort to give it. So if I see something, I'm always trying to say, how can I know we can do this better. I know we can improve performance. I know we can help the team improve their performance. But even just simple little stuff, I showed up as the consul general, or we call it principal officer, at the U.S. consulate in Edinburgh, Scotland. And most of the State Department had this appointment system. So Americans, when they renew their passport abroad, they can just go online and find the first available appointment that suits them, book the appointment, and it's super easy. Well, nobody had bothered to make such an appointment system for this consulate for years. And I came and said, this is ridiculous. We have people flying from the Orkney Islands, like 2,000 miles away, with kids in school. They're disrupting their lives. They're taking leave and not having their pay to just come get a passport. This is insane. We have these modern tools. So we convinced the department to do it. And they went, oh yeah, I don't know why we didn't do it before, but it made so many people's lives so much easier and provided a better service to people. If my view is, Greg, if you don't come at whatever you do with a point of service and that has to serve a greater good, then you're probably not trying hard enough.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I would have loved to have met your mother.
Oh yeah.
If she had that philosophy, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That was so important. and the ways that you can make everywhere you go better because you were there. It's just going to the grocery store and smiling at somebody and saying hi or good morning or have a wonderful day. You don't know. I mean, what's going on in their life. So just have that positive influence to, be kind of that spark of sunshine.
And doesn't it make you feel better when you do it? I love going into the supermarket and then looking at the one person who looks really concerned or sad or worried and just going, I love that. I love that blouse you're wearing, or, you're so beautiful, or good morning, or just something, and you see them light up, and then it makes you light up. Like there's kind of like this energetic connection of that positive electrons or whatever going.
Yeah. It's contagious.
But it's free. It is. Like everyone can do it. It's free. It doesn't cost anything,
Yeah. I mean, I noticed that, because driving in California,
we
notorious, it was like traffic jam, all that, and not always the kindest, but when you like slow down, allow somebody to merge over, and I notice because I'm that person, that slows down. It's like, oh yeah, okay,
come on,
or somebody cuts me off and is like, oh, they must be in a hurry. They're probably getting to a sick parent, or something. I make up a story that tells a story that is not in judgment of them. But what I also find is like when I do something like that, then the people around me, they're a lot more mindful. There really is. I mean, it really does have an impact, no matter,
Absolutely. So everyone pick up your trash and get out of plastic, get your reusable, fillable thing and leave wherever you were better than it was, even if you didn't leave the trash, pick up somebody else's.
Oh, yeah. And it's okay. And not judge, because like, I do
blown around. Sometimes people don't even know.
They don't even know. I mean, cause like I do a lot of, dog events, so dog agility. So,
amazing.
We'll be out with our dogs and then, you come across somebody didn't pick up after their dogs. And, and most people just complain. It's like, oh, I can't believe, irresponsible dogs. I just pick it up because, it's just like, that could have been me. I could have been. Yeah. They didn't notice
or
whatever.
The toy and the dog was over there.
Right. Yeah. So, but not to judge, just to do it, because really, I mean, when you're expending that kind of energy, just take care of it and it's done.
Yeah.
And if the same thing happened to you, you could be picking up after, yourself, basically helping yourself. So
absolutely.
Anyways, I always talk about, being a kindness ninja, you don't have to tell everybody, just do it, do the right thing. And I think that most people want to do the right thing. So Dana, how do we keep up with you and what you're doing, and how do we support you? How do we support you in what you do?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the first, follow us on LinkedIn. You can follow me. You can follow the Summit Group DC on LinkedIn. You'll see a lot of the things we're involved in, such as, supporting companies that have, advanced water solutions, advanced quantum solutions, advanced defense solutions. We're doing a lot to support Ukraine, the Women Life Freedom Movement in Iran, the Taiwanese people against, what's happening to them. But just, for humankind in general. Again, there's a lot we can do. And I think there's a lot that's misunderstood about security policy as well. I think people just need to be mindful and get out of the reactivity of what you are being told by whatever whatever media outlet wants you to focus on a certain dichotomy of things. But it's more complicated than that. Like people look at me and say, oh, you work in defense and that's just all bombs and war. And I said, listen, people are sacrificing their lives to keep us safe 24/7. You have no idea the kinds of things people tried to do to kill you and disrupt your life today and steal all your money out of your bank account today. That didn't happen because people were standing watch. And by the way, you might also want to know that the Department of Defense spends $3.1 billion on sustainability and is one of the most aggressive funders of sustainability in our government, from lighting all the installations with, solar or alternative things, with electric vehicles and alternative fuels, with, they are really trying to get away from the plastic bottle and the toxicity stuff. But, things are more, like your show says, like there are things about topics we talk about that are more than what meets the eye. And, when you have the Department of Defense saying that, literally, this is a quote, climate change is reshaping the geostrategic, operational, and tactical environments with significant implications for U.S. national security and defense, that maybe we should all pay attention, that, if increasing temperatures and all these weather patterns and all these different events are changing the way that our country is organizing and mobilizing itself to defend us, not just in those situations, but in a world where that situation's happening, but there are 10 other situations happening, far afield. I mean, that should tell us something, that this is, these issues are important. So, I mean, to support me, I think you need to support more open-minded thinking about these issues, that they're more nuanced and that they should be less politicized than they are being. And I would say that my best advice is, if you feel outraged after hearing something, then the chances are whoever said it to you, it worked on you. And I don't mean like outraged, like, oh my God, like kids in Detroit still haven't had water after 10 years to drink, except out of bottles. But I mean, if you're hearing these sort of nuggets about, people trying to outrage you on TV, it's important to be informed, to take it in, to form an opinion, but, really try to study what's going on, because chances are there's so much more that is bipartisan and unites us, and that can bring us to actual solutions. And when you hear people that just want to say, I'm just going to stop everything and keep everything from functioning and hold everything and disrupt everything, but they don't have a plan, like a real, sensible plan, that's not what we need. Like, we need people who want to solve problems, come to the table, make compromise where you have to. But some of these things, like the things I work on, they're pretty bipartisan. They're things that should be a no-brainer to people.
Right. Like clean water or, getting plastics out of
everywhere. Get plastics out of everywhere. I worked in the East Asia Pacific Bureau of the State Department. And, a lot of horror was going around about the Great Pacific Garbage Patch and, the stuff that was going out there. And it all comes from people taking a plastic bag at the supermarket instead of bringing their own. Or the kind of container they buy, or the kind of, the trash system, the lack of recycle system, or the whatever, but it all blew from a landfill, right? Like, we've got kids in Manila that are barefooted scavenging on top of, garbage heaps that are emitting this incredibly toxic gas. And that's how they're making their living to feed their family. It's like, at a certain level, we have to go, okay, not only is the garbage patch itself full of all this plastic waste that's killing our ocean a problem, but that's a symptom of this other way of that we're living on the planet in general. And as we approach 10 billion people, we have got to reimagine how we do things. And the excuses of the past they're not exactly relevant. Other countries are, as you found out in Estonia, other countries are figuring out ways where you can tackle these problems on a community and local level without becoming like, Chinese communists. Estonia is higher on the freedom index than America. Estonia is higher on the the clean government index than we are. So if Estonia and Europeans can do it, then we can do it.
And set our egos aside that we don't have to be the end all be all. Right. It's like, set your ego aside, do what's right. And if you, and learn, I mean, we don't know everything.
Absolutely.
And we're always learning, and just allowing, everybody to learn at our own pace, but also to kind of stand up for doing the right thing.
Yeah. And I would say we don't have a lot of time to figure out to go at our own pace. I think this is the time where those who have really figured it out need to just push and really talk to people. Like I say, go out and talk to your neighbors and say, it's ridiculous. It shouldn't be that Houston had a problem with its water and years later they're still drinking bottled water. We have to solve the water crisis, for example, or the plastic crisis. But the water crisis in particular, I was stunned when I started researching this, that the water affordability problem. It's not just that you can't get clean water, is that people can't even afford the clean water. And we have families in America, like millions of people in America, who are choosing between their water bill and a shower and feeding their kids, because municipalities can no longer, there's the capacity to deal with what it takes to keep the water supply clean, safe, and cyber secure is so overwhelming and the water monopolies are driving these prices of clean water here in America just up and up. That water affordability is a crisis now that nobody's really tackling. So I think there are many of these challenging issues, but we have to say, enough, and we have to lead and we have to lean in. And if you've been sitting on the fence there at home, I would say now is not the time to continue to do that. I would say pick one thing that you feel you can make a difference in your community, whether it's reducing plastic, whether it's even if it's just in a little thing. Like my business is plastic bottle free. We do not take plastic bottles. We bring refillable bottles everywhere. If we can't get refillable bottles, that's it, but you have to make a commitment with where you are. But do not sit on any fences, anyone.
Yeah. The status quo is
dead.
Is dead.
It's a non-starter. It's DOA.
Right. Yeah.
We're in peril, and we have to. We don't really act like it, and we're like slow boiling frogs on this planet, And one day we'll wake up dead if we don't realize that we've been boiling all this time. So I'm not getting I don't want to go too crazy on people, but if I as a fairly mainstream, public servant, working in the defense and space community, which, in this hardcore, national security space can see that we can do things better than really anyone can,
Yeah. And that's just it. Be better than you were yesterday.
Yeah.
That's where we're all coming from. And, so that's great. So wonderful. Dana, thank you so much for joining me and sharing, what you do. I love, that you're really kind of out there and making a difference, and getting those plastics and awareness and putting all of those things into practice. It's wonderful.
We really do try. As far as what we can all do, we can all make a difference. And but I just really am so grateful that really, really grateful to you that you invited me on the show. Grateful to your manager, Beth, who's amazing. And to your community. And I love your podcast. Until Beth alerted me to it, I didn't even realize that you were alive and doing. No, I knew you were alive.
Right?
I knew you were alive.
Yeah.
No, I knew you were alive. But I love the stuff you're doing on your show to highlight different sides of things, that I didn't necessarily even think about. And I consider myself a pretty informed person, but you can't know everything. And it's it's amazing your guests were really amazing and how they discuss these different sides of things. So, and so it was really quite an honor when Beth said, "Wait, do you want to be on it?" And I went, "You've got to be kidding!"
Oh, that's awesome.
No, it's a sincere honor. I mean, you are one of the incredible, there are athletes, elite athletes, and then elite of the elite athletes, and you're in that category. And I think all of us who were fortunate enough to watch your journey as an athlete and be inspired by you. I mean, I'm so grateful that you're continuing to inspire people, but this was a real sincere honor.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it, Dana.
Well, thank you. And reach back out anytime. Yeah,
we'll be in touch, definitely. Because I want, love to help in any way I can to get the word out, to get these, the World Aquatic, group and U.S. Olympic Committee and all those in alignment to be working for this common goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's very
Whatever
doable.
you need, Greg, you just call me.
Okay.
Call me and I will be there and offer any advice I can anytime.
That's a deal.
You got it.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dana. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining Greg Louganis' Live. And please like, subscribe, and share with someone you love. Until next time, namaste.
Yay Networks.